All right, welcome, my friends. Nice to see you all here today. I've got my friend Thaddeus Gala, who some of you might recognize from our last event, Perfect Practice Live. His presentation and his insights were a huge hit, and he is back to share more of his knowledge with us today. He's going to be sharing some amazing stories about how he's been able to reduce his tax burden, how he's been able to put money back into his pocket and repurpose that money to do good for his family, for his community, for his business, and of course, for humanity. So the title of our talk today is how to turn 10K into 100K. And, that could turn into millions of dollars if you take the right action steps. So without further ado, I'd love to welcome Thaddeus. Thaddeus, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, man, this is great. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we can get a lot of questions answered and people can leave here with a clear game plan to hopefully quickly and easily and without much gnashing of teeth, they can put more money back in their pockets. They can take care of their family and their friends and create jobs and pursue their life purpose and mission.
Awesome. So I'm going to give everyone just a few minutes to get settled in and tuned in. Make sure you have a pen and a piece of paper handy. Take down some notes. Thaddeus will also be sharing a special opportunity for some of you to join him and myself as well in Puerto Rico, where he hosts something called the Guardians Retreat. And we'll talk more about that as well. So make sure you stay tuned until the very end. We'll be sharing some special opportunities. If you're part of my mentorship group, then we have even more special opportunity for you. So I'll be sharing that in our mentorship group. So you can look out for that in there. And as people are tuning in, we'll give everyone just a couple moments to get settled. We're going to be covering a lot of information. Thaddeus's time is very valuable, so I want to make sure we maximize it. And I'd love to have some time for Q&A. So we'll try to keep this to about an hour to about 75 minutes. And I welcome all of you to ask your questions in the chat, and then I will moderate for Thaddeus so that we can get to some of those most pressing questions. All right, let's get started. Thaddeus, first and foremost, maybe you can share a little bit more about your background. You're just like me, a chiropractor as well. You run a very successful clinic. I'd love to know how you got into helping people with saving on taxes and financial.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, thanks for having us here. I know you and I were talking about our annual retreat coming up. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And I'm just excited about helping people. I think it's the entrepreneurial journey, right? Is you try to scratch your own itch. And in that process, you end up coming up with solutions that other people can benefit from. So I wear, I say, 3 hats. And first, let me just say this, anything that I'm sharing here, make sure that you run this by your appropriate advisors, et cetera. But the things I found to work really well in my life, and countless of others have benefited from this. So I wear 3 hats. One is healthcare. I first went into natural healthcare when I was 10, and my mom said, or the doctor said my mom would be spending the rest of her life in a wheelchair. And it was all the experts said the same thing. Sorry, we don't know what's wrong, but whatever's going on with her, she'll spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. She had braces on her arms. She couldn't work. She was a teacher at the time, and thankfully the school district changed their sick care policy and allowed other teachers to donate their sick time to my mom so she wouldn't lose her job. And I grew up on a homestead. My parents were hippies. We had electricity half the time. We had kerosene lamps in our bedroom. Like, we really were living off the grid growing up. So we raised our own animals, our own food, et cetera. So it was a very hard life growing up. So my mom went from full working to full disability. That put me on my first path. I got clinics, and that was around 2008, 2009, right around the housing crisis. I was busting my butt, and I finally started making money. Fast forward, my mom did end up, and she's now in full complete remission. She's in her 70s. She just started running and winning 5K races in her age group. She's in complete remission off all of her meds. So that's a huge success case, right? So I have a handful of clinics that we oversee, probably about 50,000 patient visits a year. I work about an hour a month on that. I have an amazing, amazing team. And when I finally started making money, I remember I was working 12-hour days, and I got this letter from my CPA, and I called up, I said, what's this love letter you sent me? He said, what do you mean? I said, you must really love me. He said, what are you talking about? I said, you just sent me this really great joke. He's like, well, that's not a joke. I said, what? Like, you're telling me I owe $250,000 in taxes? He said, yeah. I said, but I only have $30,000 in the bank account. I'm a healthcare practitioner. I'm busting my ass here. I'm working 12-hour days. I'm just trying to make ends meet. Like I feel like I'm trying to make it. This is in the housing crisis. Everything's just a shit show. And he said, well, that's just the way it is, death and taxes. And I hung up the phone and I felt like I got hit by a truck. I mean, here I was working so hard. I went in with this passion to save my mom's life. And as a result, help many other people reverse chronic disease. I'm finishing up my PhD right now on reversing Parkinson's. We had a great test group that we took through a whole study. So like my passion is in helping people improve their life, right? And I get hit with this tax bill and I realized I did not understand the money game at all. I was a practitioner, not a business person. And I thought, well, I was able to save my mom's life, and he kind of got off the phone, he kind of joked, he said, well, death and taxes. And when I hung up, the light bulb also went off. I thought, well, when all the experts said nothing could be done for my mom, I proved them wrong, maybe there's something to this financial thing. So for the last 7-8 years, I've been diving into the financial thing, and I realized that wealthy people don't pay taxes. It's not a secret either. That's the thing that boggles my mind. It's almost like natural health care. It's no secret that you can reverse diabetes. It's no secret that you can reverse chronic pain and all these ailments. So why don't most people or everybody, follow that same path? And I realized the same thing with finances. So many people would say, I mean, I don't know if we can do a poll or anything on here, maybe just raise your hand or something, but like how many people here, give your video, maybe just raise your hand or say, hey, or something. Like how many of you ever heard that wealthy people don't pay taxes? Or that you've maybe heard or say like, Jeff Bezos doesn't pay tax, right? Like we've all heard that, right? Now, like, think about this. How many hours do you spend on your business every single week? I know a lot of entrepreneurs, they're kind of like a badge of honor, right? I spend 30 hours a day in my business, man. I'm hustling, I'm grinding, like they come up with these absurd numbers. And then I ask people, I say, well, that's great, but how much money or how much time do you spend understanding the tax code? And usually it's, zeros, right? I've done webinars before and it's like 0, 0, 0. I had one gal, she put -2. I said, how did you put -2? She said, because I intentionally put time and energy into avoiding it. That's the great answer, right? So everybody knows that wealthy people don't pay taxes, but very few people actually spend the time to figure it out. And I realized that it's kind of like driving a car, right? You see people driving, and if you don't have someone to teach you, I mean, could you imagine giving a 15-year-old a set of keys and a book and saying, here you go? And that's the problem, is there is no guide for this. I mean, CPAs are certified public accountants. They're not, they're not certified, protecting your assets. They're there just to crunch numbers. And I always say, just like doctors, there's two types of CPAs. There's those that work for you, and there's those that work for the government. Just like doctors, there's those doctors that work for the AMA and the pharmaceutical companies, and they're just 15-minute visits in and out, revolving door. And then there's those that are, okay, let's really take the time to step back and really figure out what we got going on here. Just like entrepreneurs, right? I mean, only, it's the 80-20 rule, right? Most things in life. And I have a mantra, it's this: look at what the masses are doing and do the opposite, and you'll likely be right the majority of the time. Because most of us are wrong about most things most of the time, myself included. And I don't know how many times I've talked to an expert and they've said, oh, well, I'm just getting started on this. I can think of some healthcare practitioners that in my mind are geniuses. And I say, man, you really know a lot about fill in the blank, whatever the specialty is. And people that are really intellectually honest, they'll usually say, oh yeah, but I'm just scratching the surface. It's almost like the more you know, the more you realize that you don't even know what you don't know what you don't know. And you step into that place of conscious ignorance and admitted ignorance, unless you're like on the internet arguing politics or whatever the flavor of the day is, everyone's an expert, right? But when people that are genuine experts, they admit that they're not experts. So I think that's the thing, is that when it comes to finances, number one, we don't have the right guidance on it. And number two, we know that it's done, but somehow we feel like it doesn't apply to us. So the first thing I would offer is the things that we're going to be talking about here. I would encourage you to maybe just suspend the disbelief for a second that this can't apply to you. And I'm willing to bet that some of the things we're going to talk about, obviously we can't cover everything here, But what I'll do is I'll go through, I think, what some of the common misconceptions, and I'll try to start kind of high level, and then we can filter it down through the rocks and into the sand as deep as you want to go on specifics. And you can jump on and off the train as much as you want mentally as we kind of go down this journey together. So I'll pause there, and before we kind of dive into some of the nitty gritty, Sachin, do you have any specific questions or direction you want to go, or we can take questions as we go through this as well? But I'm really here to serve you guys as much as possible.
Yeah, I do invite people to, suspend their disbelief and realize that this applies across the board, regardless of where you are in your income. Am I hearing that correctly? Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be Elon Musk to benefit from what we're going to talk about today. This can benefit you across the board.
Exactly.
And I've seen you post stuff about, canceling or being able to write off your student debt. And many of us are students. Some of us might still have, debt that we have to repay. Maybe we can start there, because that could be something that all of us could benefit from immediately.
So someone was saying across the borders too. So I'll be the first to admit that I'm not the expert with the Canadian tax code. So, but I know that a lot of the same principles will apply. So the subtleties and the nuances, I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert in that. So here's one of the things that, first of all, I'm assuming you're here because you either pay taxes or you don't like taxes, or you might have to pay taxes in the beginning, or you know someone that pays taxes and you'd like to reduce or avoid taxes as much as legal. Is that kind of, maybe that gets some head nods or some yeses in the chats, like that we're all here on the same page, right? Now, if you think that taxes are, okay, yes, awesome. So if you think taxes are absolutely amazing and that are your civic duty and responsibility, that's great. I would encourage you to really go look through all of the taxes that you are already paying. And when I say that, I'd say look at excise taxes, property taxes, gas taxes, death taxes, inheritance taxes. Just go down the list. I guarantee you're already paying a crap ton in taxes. And I'll tell you what, if you want to pay more in taxes and you think that the government does an amazing job at handling your money better than you in terms of creating jobs and helping people out, then by all means, feel free to write them an extra check at the end of the year if you feel so inclined. I really encourage you to do that if you really believe in your heart that's the case. Otherwise, I'm assuming that you'd like to pay the least amount as legally required in taxes, just like me, my other people, so that you can take better care of your family. Maybe it's creating more jobs, investing in your life's purpose and mission so that you can really show up, because I'm willing to bet that if you have more money in your pocket, you're going to do more good in the world than some bureaucratic official that you may or may not have even voted for or elected. And that's why, for me, I created the Guardians, is because I wanted to educate people, because I thought if I can help entrepreneurs and business owners and people that are doing really good stuff in the world keep more money in their pocket, that's going to have a huge ripple effect to improving other people's lives in a growing scale. And I actually came up with that, and there's a couple of the nuances to it, but I really do believe that if we can do that, it'll have an exponential effect. And for me, that I love when the light bulb goes off, whether it be with a patient and they realize that they don't have to deal with their chronic illness anymore and that they've been lied to or misled, or whether it's financially, all of a sudden, I could pull up my phone here and show you how many texts I get from people that are saying, dude, Thaddeus, you just saved me 200 grand in taxes, or 100 grand, or, one guy, I talked to him for 5 minutes and I saved him $54,000. So all of these things are out there, but people oftentimes don't realize it. One thing I'll talk about is student loans. And I don't know how the law is up in Canada, but I know in the US, if you have federal loans, President Obama, a handful of years ago, came up with a law called income-based repayment, and he had all these different repayment plans. Now, here's one of the beautiful things, is there's a wide open door that you can have your federal loans completely forgiven. And it's a two-step process. If you can zero out your taxes, which that's what we help people do, we educate them on how to do that compliantly and keep all their money completely liquid. If you zero out your taxes, you're eligible for what's called income-based repayment plan. And if you reduce your income down low enough, that means that you qualify for income-based repayment and you'll be paying $0 in taxes. And after a handful of years, your taxes will be forgiven. Now, how many people, maybe just throw in the chat there, how many people have ever even heard of that? I guess maybe even percentage, Sachin, what percentage of people are US based versus more north where you guys are? Like just roughly, maybe in just a hunch.
You know what? I could set up a poll. So let me create one right now.
So here's the thing, that I see so many people are paying money in student loans, they're paying money in taxes, and they're paying all this money because they're following conventional wisdom. And I've heard people say, oh gosh, well, gosh, you don't even have any common sense. You know, like it's almost like a derogatory thing. Gosh, you don't have common sense. For me, I want uncommon sense. I don't want common sense, because common sense is how we get a population, at least in the US, that is 70% overweight or obese. They're on, I think the average person over 50, I think is on 2 or more medications. When they retire, the biggest equity they have is in their house. I don't want common. I mean, why do I want to be common or be average? I want to be anything but have common sense. I want wealthy sense. And when I say wealthy, I mean wealthy in terms of relationships, wealthy in terms of money, and wealthy to be able to do what you want, when you want, with who you want. So when I'm sharing these ideas and you go to share these with some other people, your CPA even, I'll tell you this, the CPAs are some of the worst people to talk to about tax savings advice. I know that sounds crazy, but that's like going to an MD with a new diet plan about how you're going to lose weight or reverse diabetes, and the MD is just going to shit all over it. Because the MD is going to think, no, you just need to take medications. Because here's the thing, if you've been going to a doctor, you got to think about this, you guys. If you've been going to a doctor for 20 years and they've been giving you meds, and then you go over here to Sachin or Thaddeus or you or whatever, and you're saying, I'm just using diabetes because to me, that's a no-brainer. That's like, that's like falling off a log, easy to reverse, right? So like, if you're coming over here and now this patient goes back to their doctor and says, well, Thaddeus and Sachin said that I can reverse my diabetes in 4 to 6 months. And they're going to say, but I've been with you for 20 years. You can't reverse diabetes. Or that doctor's going to immediately feel insecure, most likely. And they're going to say, well, no, Sachin and Thaddeus, they just don't know what they're talking about. You can't reverse diabetes. And so that way they can maintain their grip and their reputation and their ego. So CPAs are no different. If you're going to be bringing these things to your CPA, I want you to be fully aware that your CPA may shit all over them, excuse my language, but they could just crap all over them because it wasn't their idea, and they don't want to look like they were the bad person that's been giving you poor advice over the years. So instead of saying, yeah, let's really look at this, it'll be the rare CPA. And let me tell you, everyone thinks that their CPA is the rare one. Everyone thinks, no, my doctor will understand. No, my doctor is great. They'll be great. I see some smiles here because everyone's had that conversation, and that their doctor is the biggest killer, right? Of them actually, no, I'll talk to my doctor, that's fine. And sure enough, next week the patient comes back, and what happens? Oh, my doctor said you couldn't do this, it won't work. Or they just cancel their appointment, they no show, and then you just lost another person, right? Like, I can't tell you how many times it is. And you just want to like reach through the phone and try to save their life because you know that you can help them so bad, but they've just been like sucked back into the tsunami of ridiculousness and mainstream mindset that's just killing people by the thousands, by the millions, right? So yeah, if there are any, I hope there's no CPAs here. If there are, have them jump on. I'm happy to talk with them. So I don't know, does this resonate with you guys? And I know you're here because you already think differently, right? So here's the thing.
Hey, Thaddeus, I'm going to just launch this poll real quick so you can get a sense of where people are from.
So I really share this because it really, for me, here's the thing, you guys. Marshall Goldsmith, Robert Cialdini, Stanley Milgram, the Ash conformity studies, pick your poison, like it doesn't matter. The researchers and psychologists and marketers and people in the know of what human behavior is, everyone agrees that the single biggest predictor of behavior is environment. The environment that you put someone in will dictate their behavior. If you don't believe me, look at how you show up when you're with kids versus when you're with your friends versus when you're with your partner or when you're with your old people or whatever the case may be. We all show up different based on the environment. And if you don't believe me, go watch I think it's Darren Brown. Go watch The Push. Go watch The Push on Netflix by Darren Brown. And that will it'll either scare the crap out of you or it'll completely make you realize that we humans are the most ridiculous group of people. The whole premise is, have you guys ever seen The Push by Darren Brown? He basically he stages this entire experiment with hundreds of actors, and he tries to get someone. In 60 minutes, he tries to see if he can get a stranger to kill another stranger in 60 minutes. just by crafting the environment. Someone that's completely innocent. He wants to see if he can get somebody to kill a complete stranger that's completely innocent in 60 minutes. Watch that movie and you'll be absolutely amazed. He takes a handful of people through this experiment. So we have to surround ourselves with the right playmates and the right playgrounds. The fact that you're in this group is great. So when you leave this group and you go back out into the craziness out in the world, just remember, like, stay true to who you are, come back to your group, come back to your environment, find the right playmates and the right playgrounds, because that's going to help you with this. So in terms of student loans, in the US, I see we're 80% US. If we're able to reduce your income to about 30,000 or less, you can apply for what's called income-based repayment, and that will zero out your taxes. So if you're taking notes right now and you have federal student loans in the US, and I don't know, maybe you guys have something similar like this in Canada, I don't know, but just how much are you paying? How much are people paying right now in federal student loans or just in student loans in general? Just gonna write that down, or maybe throw that in the chat there, or write it on your piece of paper and then times that by 12. Because that right there, you're already going to be saving that if you qualify for income-based repayment. So that's just one thing that we can work on. But I want to get to, in Sachin, unless you have some specific questions, I can dive into my rule of 6, my rule of 10, and some other strategies that we can do to help people reduce their taxes and start getting into some of the juicier stuff.
Let's do it.
Okay. And if you guys have questions, I saw a bunch of things coming up. I just want to make sure I didn't miss one here. Right off educational, great, awesome. Okay. Okay. So at any of accrued 30 tax on when it's proven. So, okay, yes. Okay, so here it is. And I love the butts. So let me say this. If you bring out your butt, I'm going to call you on your butt. So if you bring out your butts, I'm going to call you on it. So I see someone here says, yes, you can forgive your taxes on it, but you get a tax bill when it's forgiven. So at the end, you'll have accrued 300,000. You'll be taxed on it when it's forgiven. So I like yes ands, because there's another workaround, another solution for that, right? That's like kind of saying, but Dr. Gala, I'm going to lose all this weight, but then I'm going to have to go clothes shopping, and it's like, of all the problems that you're going to have, right? That's part of the luxury of it. So here's the thing, and I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong, Shyla, I think. You absolutely are correct. And here's the thing. Add up how much you're going to be saving in over the next 20 years by not paying your student loans, times that by 12 months, your monthly payment by 12, and then times that by 20, or actually 25, or 20 or 25. Find out what that number is, and then ask yourself, if you were to invest that money, how much will that grow into? And let's look at real estate, for instance. So I'm a big fan of real estate. That's my third hat that I wear is real estate. If you were to take and invest in real estate, what's an average down payment? Just maybe give me a shout out there. Or put it in the chat box. What's an average down payment? Let's just go with 20%, right? So let's say that your student loan payments are $1,000 times 12. Let's just times that by 5 years. So that's $60,000 divided by 0.2. So that means you can get a $300,000 house. That's just in your first 5 years. You can get a $300,000 house. Now write this down. That's why I love real estate so much. Write down the rule of 10. And the rule of 10 is this. When you assume an historical 4% appreciation and principal reduction, you have a growing line of equity between those two lines, right? So you have appreciation and you have principal reduction. So if you buy a piece of real estate, the rule of 10 states this. In 10 years, you will have your original purchase price in equity in the property. Let me say that another way. So if we take $1,000 a month student loan payment, we times that by 12, and we times that by 5 years. That means in 5 years, you get to buy a piece of real estate that's $300,000. Now that means in another 10 years, you're going to have how much money in equity? You're going to have $300,000 in equity, right? Because the rule of 10 states you have 300,000. Now here's the thing. The next doubling isn't in 10 years, because now we have compounding, right? The rule of exponential tells us that the next one is in 7 years. So that means that in 22 years, you're going to have $600,000 of equity. So Shiloh, I'm taking your example all the way down the line here to get your butt, because you pulled your butt out. So I'm going to smack your butt here. So if you have $600,000 now of equity in your property, that's now free, magical, made up money that was just from 5 years of you not paying your student loans. You have $600,000 of equity. Now, if you do a cash out refinance, let's just say of $400,000, Is that money taxed or is that money tax-free? Give me an answer there in the chat. If you get a loan in general, are loans taxed or tax-free? Tax-free, tax-free, tax-free. Awesome. Why are they tax-free? It's not income. Absolutely. I see a question mark. Awesome. This is good. So we're already learning some stuff. So here's the thing. You just turned $60,000 that you otherwise would have had to pay on student loans into $600,000 magically, magical money that just showed up out of nowhere, out of your magical golden goose. It laid an egg and that egg matured. So now you have $600,000. Let's say you pull out $400,000 completely tax-free. Well, now let's take that example, right? Your $300,000 student loans, your $300,000 student loans, when they're forgiven, they are taxed, right? So $300,000 is going to be counted as income times 35%. So you're going to have a $100,000 tax bill. So you're going to have a $100,000 tax bill, but you just got $400,000 of magical free money from nothing. And so what's the spread on that? 400,000 minus 100,000, you still came out $300,000 ahead. So who freaking cares if you have to pay taxes on it 20, 25 years from now? Now that's just from 5 years of not paying your student loans. Imagine if you didn't have to pay student loans for the next 20 years, how much you're going to generate. And here's the thing, that's just taking out 400,000. That's not even taking out the full $600,000 out of the property. So that's just one example. Now, here's the thing, that's called arbitrage. Most of you probably have heard arbitrage. If you haven't, you'd use arbitrage all day long. Some people say, because we could use that same example, I'd say, well, you should buy a car because it'll help you, because a car is a good tool. And you may say, but gosh, but then Thaddeus, then I'm paying $400 a month on my lease and insurance payment. Gosh, I'm gonna have a car payment the rest of my life. Like, why would I buy a car? Well, you don't have to, but you're paying $400 a month to help get you to a job where you're making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month. So you're arbitraging it for a bigger spread. Same kind of thing. You're not paying your student, you're zeroing out your taxes. You don't have to pay your student loans. So then later it's just the spread, right? Like you take your net income, or you take your income minus your car payment, that's what you actually get to keep, right? There's other expenses, but I'm using the same example. So that's the mindset. And Shyla, I don't mean to call you out here, but that's the mindset that we need to change. That we need to switch, because it's not a yeah, but it's a yes, and. So you're right. There is going to be a taxable event when your student loans are forgiven. And if you arbitrage and you take your savings and you grow that, that's going to far outpace whatever you're going to end up paying when that comes down the line. But this is where it gets juicier, guys. Watch this. So if you've been sleeping this entire time, this is where I really would encourage you to pay attention. This is one of the biggest ways that wealthy people don't pay taxes. All right, watch this. And if you were to buy this property, let's just go down the same route. If you were to buy this property, right, with magical made up free money, because you're not paying your student loans anymore. And let's say that in 5, 10 years, let's say you pull out $100,000 out of your property. As we already discussed, that money is tax-free, right? So let's just say you pull out $100,000. So write down this, the rule of 6. Now, this may not apply to all of you, but here's the thing. The rule of 6 states this. For every dollar that you save in taxes, it's equivalent to $6 top line revenue. Meaning that if, now these are the presuppositions of this. If, this is assuming that if you have a business that has a 25% profit margin and you're in a 35% tax bracket, for every dollar you save on taxes, it's the equivalent of $6 on the front end, meaning that to put $100,000 in your pocket, you need $600,000 of services rendered. So if you can save $100,000 in your pocket, that's the same as going out and generating $100,000, or I'm sorry, $600,000 of revenue. Think about how much the average person has to work to generate $600,000 of business on the top line revenue. And here's the thing, it's no guarantee that you can go out and generate $600,000 of top line revenue. But here's the thing, once you've made that money, that's why to me it's absolutely critical that we then do what's ever necessary to eliminate our taxes, because it's money that we've already had to work so hard to get. And if we can keep that money in our pocket, then you're winning. because I can't tell you how many people, and I love Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels and things like that, and they have their 2 comma award, which is great. I love it, and that's wonderful. And it also breaks my heart of how many people that I know that I talk to that are in the 2 comma award. That, you know, for those of you who don't know, it's people that basically make $1 million off of an online e-commerce, you know, sales funnel, and they make $1 million. They're in the 2 comma club award, but they spent maybe 1.1 million to get there. Or they don't have, or they don't even have that much to show. It's like, yeah, I made $1 million, but I'm still running at a loss. And so for me, it's like, you know, it's kind of like how do you make a small fortune in the restaurant business? You start with a large fortune, you open a restaurant, and then you end up with a small fortune. And the same thing with entrepreneurship. I was talking to this one gal. I just absolutely loved her. She worked so hard. She said, you know, Thaddeus, I finally made $1 million in my practice, but I sure as hell don't feel like a millionaire, because of how much was going to taxes and how much was going to expenses and how her margins were so low. So the rule of 6 states this: every dollar that you can save in taxes, it's equivalent to $6 that you saved on the top line revenue. So I would make this argument: if we can eliminate your taxes, that's the same thing as adding about 54% of additional top line revenue. So if you have $1 million business and I can help you eliminate your taxes, that's no different than me coming to you and saying, I'm going to add an additional $540,000 to your business. Would that be of value to you? But here's the thing. If I say I'm going to add 54,000, if I'm going to add 54% top line revenue, everyone goes crazy, right? More sales, more products, more services. Let's sell, let's sell, let's sell. But when it comes to saving money on taxes, if I say, yeah, I'm going to save you 100 grand on taxes, people are like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. That, you know, that's great. But people don't get nearly as excited if you say, I'm going to save you 100 grand in taxes, as opposed to I'm going to bring you $500,000 of new revenue. I mean, like, just be honest, like maybe just throw in the chat, like really check in with your gut. If I would have came to you and said, hey, I'm going to save you 100 grand on taxes versus I'm going to bring you 500,000 of new revenue guaranteed, which one would you like emotionally get more excited over? Like, maybe just give me, like, try to be as honest as you can, right? Like what would you be like? What would you be more excited about? You know, yeah, right. So more revenue. And that's the thing, is we have to change our brains, because if we put the systems in place to reduce and eliminate our tax on the back end, that will be the single biggest thing you can do to increase your wealth, is eliminating your taxes, because it is the single biggest line item for the vast majority of business owners. Far above any other after-tax expense is your taxes, hands down. But we're always told death and taxes. And our CPA just gives us a letter and says, this is what you have to pay, right? So here's the thing. Let's say that you get that piece of property, right? And you pull out $100,000. Now, this is where it gets really juicy, you guys. So watch this. If you have a piece of property, for instance, and you pull out $100,000, that money is tax-free. But now, what happens if you use that $100,000, and let's say that you go join Sachin's premier $100,000 mastermind group, and you write Sachin a $100,000 check? What does that do to your taxes? Is that a write-off? Is that a business expense? Absolutely it is, right? It's tax deductible, absolutely. So here's the thing. You just took tax-free money and you just were able to write it off on your taxes. That's one of the biggest ways that wealthy people don't pay taxes and they eliminate their taxes, is this right here. They borrow against assets. And ideally, they borrow against appreciating assets. And you may say, you may have your butt hanging out right now, and you may say, yeah, but Thaddeus, now I just increased the loan on that property. Now my mortgage payment is going to go up. Yes. And as your equity in your property goes up, you're most likely going to also be raising the rents, because rents and property values have gone up historically, and the stock market and everything has gone up historically. Oh, when you take the blended average, forever. So rents go up, everything keeps going up. I mean, look at the housing market right now. I mean, the average if inflation is 4 to 5%. I think houses inflated, I think 14 to 17% last year. So if you weren't invested in real estate or other assets, Like my Berkshire Hathaway stock has went up almost 180% in the last 2 years. So, and I like Berkshire because it's just a big conglomerate of where the economy is, and I think Warren Buffett has it figured out. So here's the thing. Wealthy people understand the power of arbitrage. So borrowing against appreciating assets is a magical way to create tax-free wealth. And here's the thing. If you borrow against an asset, you just made, let's say you borrow $100,000, that's the same as a $600,000 top line revenue. And if you take that $100,000 and you join Sachin's mastermind group or whatever the case may be, you'll hire a key team member, you go buy an asset for your business, you write that off. Well, now you've not only zeroed out your taxes, you're now showing a loss. And after you do this for a couple years and you start building up your assets and you move into that Robert Kiyosaki square of being an investor, you don't want to be an employee, you don't want to be an owner, you want to be an investor. And you start working towards being an investor. Here's the thing. Who makes more money, Warren Buffett or the CEO of Coke or the CEO of See's Candy? Warren Buffett. Owners are second in the food chain. Investors get paid the most. So the more that you can start thinking like the wealthy and start adopting these types of habits, the faster you're going to get there. One of the downsides is you're going to jump off this call and you're going to go talk with your kids, or you're going to go talk at the soccer game with some other parents, or you're just kind of like filter back into your life, and you're going to be surrounded by the old playmates and the old playgrounds that don't think like Jeff Bezos. They don't think like Warren Buffett, Elon Musk. They don't think like Sachin. They don't think like this. And so you have to be surrounding yourself with these people, because these ideas and concepts take a while to sink in. But once they sink in and once they stick, it's game over, guys. It is game over. Once you do this and you get the taste of it, it is game over. This last summer, I pulled out, I don't know, I think it was like 1.5 or $1.7 million of equity out of a handful of my properties. So think about this. I pulled out like let's just call it 1.5 for easy math. What does the rule of 6 state? If I pulled out $1.5 million in equity, that's the equivalent of a $9 million business. I would have to have a $9 million business to generate $1.5 million tax-free. How much energy, time, money, no guarantee of success, et cetera, will it take you to generate a $9 million business? And I did that. That was just a portion of my real estate portfolio that I did just on the part-time while I was heads down in the clinic focusing. Like I did that, and I built my real estate portfolio initially more haphazardly, kind of fumbling through it. I mean, my goal now is to really go big into real estate, and I teach real estate courses, et cetera. But I realized that that's how you can do it. So if you can understand how to start acquiring and building assets, which I'm happy to talk about some of that if you guys want to, how to buy real estate with no money out of pocket, regardless of credit score, income, all that kind of stuff. We can talk about that briefly as well. But that's one of the things that I think people need to realize is several things. Let's just touch on this real quick. The rule of 6, again, assumes that you have a 25% profit margin, 35% tax bracket. Rule of 6 states for every dollar you save in taxes, it's equivalent to $6 top line revenue. So smack yourself around, and every time you save a dollar in taxes, just get equally excited and say, I just brought in $6 of new sales, and just get that excited as though you just made $6 of new sales. Like figure out whatever hack you need to do to like get yourself jacked or pumped up about closing a big deal, whatever it is. So, because you have to put yourself in that mindset. So understanding the rule of 6. The other thing I'm just kind of recapping some of the bullet points I want to drive home. Number 2 is you have to find the right playmates and the right playgrounds. So whether it's me or Sachin or the right CPAs, and if you want a CPA referral, I have some great CPAs both in Canada and in the US. I'm happy to make a referral, so we can talk about that. Obviously, you know, I don't mean to say it, but like we have a lot of these resources, and we're going to talk a lot about this at the annual retreat, et cetera. But you got to find the right CPAs. You got to be in the mindset of the rule of 6, and you have to surround yourself with the right playmates and the right playgrounds of people that think like this. Because the people that think like this, to be clear, I'm just scratching the surface of tax saving strategies, et cetera. So So let's go through this, because I saw some people say that they're like, I think there's even maybe some students in here, etc. One of the things that you need to do is, Shaila, I love, yeah, I'm going to need notes on this. I think Sachin is recording this. I don't know if it's what he's doing with the recording afterwards. Hopefully he's not just archiving it forever, but yeah, I'm sure we can probably get it to you. One of the things you guys actually comment here, are you guys all, does everyone have a business set up? Does everyone have like an LLC or an SCorp or a SCorp? Please don't tell me that you're a sole prop. Is anybody a sole prop? Please don't tell me that you're a sole prop. Yeah, okay, good. LLC, yes, 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 yes. 6 months ago, good, 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 wonderful. Okay, LLC, okay, awesome. If you ever see somebody that's a sole, okay, I don't think anyone's a sole prop, or they're not admitting it. Oh, I'm a sole prop. Okay, so Cindy, all right, Cindy, we're going to call you out here a little bit because I love you so much because you're honest. One of the first things you need to do, Cindy, is you need to set up an LLC. Kathleen, I love it. Cindy, is you want to get set up as an LLC or an SCorp. Why? Because the IRS looks at sole props and they realize that that person doesn't know what they're doing in business. Because anybody that's running a legitimate business or anyone that has a business, they realize that they do not set up as a sole prop, because it ties you to liabilities. It ties you as a personal guarantor, for recourse, etc. So yeah, so I see LLC with SCorp taxing. Yeah, so that's common. I mean, here's the IRS looks at sole props as basically like the bully that can come and, like, I don't know, I guess just like shake you upside down and your lunch money comes out. Like you're just easy prey, right? And so if you're an SCorp or an LLC, you're put into the buckets of all the other business entities. So when the IRS does their random auditing, you're going to be in the same bucket as whatever however you're filing. So you may be in the same group as, let's say, Apple or Amazon. Now, is an IRS agent going to go after, Amazon or you? Well, if they find one line item in Amazon that's just off a little bit, that's going to be huge versus one line item for you. It might be like $1,000 or $2,000 in like disallowed expenses or something. So when the IRS is looking at it, they're looking, is the juice worth the squeeze? So they're going to be looking for that easy prey. So I'm glad that everyone is set up. So what's the equivalent, Ashley, in Canada? I don't know. Sachin, do you know that? I don't know, Ashley, what you meant by that, but
Canada Revenue Agency.
What's that?
The equivalent to the IRS?
I think she was maybe asking about a sole prop. CRA.
Yeah, Canadian Revenue Agency.
Yeah, I think maybe she was saying about the business equivalent. Yeah, actually, if you want to clarify, I'm happy to try to clarify that. But so the first thing is to do to make sure you set up a business. The second thing you want to do is you want to go through all of the common and uncommon things that are out there. Now we do this like what we have is we have like our map. And we have a map, it's called the Maximum Assessment Program. So we take people through soup to nuts and we look at everything they're doing and we find all the little things that people are missing or not doing when we do our tax assessment. And I tell people, look, there's a fee for that. We get on the phone with you for an hour, we map everything out. And if we don't think we can save you double the fee, we give you 100% refund, because there's so many little things and nuances based on everyone's little thing. So and the reason I'm saying is because I'm not trying to sit here and pretend that I'm going to cover all these right now, because it's kind of like when you have a patient come in, you have to go through your algorithm and evaluation that could take you so many different directions. So it's not a one size fits all. So I'm going to just start with some blanket things here. And again, some of these things may not apply in the US, but in Canada, but in the US, how many people here have kids? Do you have kids aged about 7 to 22? 4 of them. All right. I love that. Carlos is like making a little army there. I love it. 2, 4, 7. Okay, great. So here's the thing. In the US, I think they just raised this. It went from $12,000 to almost $13,000. That if you're making under $13,000, you don't have to file. It's the minimum for federal filing. So if you have kids, I believe it's age 7 to 22, you can pay them upwards of almost $12,950 per year and it's tax deductible to your business and it's tax-free for them.
What?
How many people feel like they're already going to be making some money right now? They're already saving money. Give me like a shout out, or give me like a Sachin's so damn handsome or something. Put in the chat, Sachin is so damn handsome if you already feel like you're making some money right now. All right, Sachin, look at that. Can I buy someone's kids? So here, I'll repeat it. Hey, Ann, what's up, girl? How we doing, man? Ann, just PM me. You know where I'm at. Okay, so here's the thing. If in the US, if your kids are aged 7 to, I believe it's 22, so I might have to double check this, but it's age 7 to 22, you can pay them upwards, I believe right now, the equivalent up to $12,950 per year. And it is tax-free for them. And it's a tax write-off for you. So if you have, let's just do some math here. If you have 2 kids, I'm just going to say 13 grand for easy math. 13 times 2. So here's the thing. Well, yeah, it's not that big a deal. So that's 26 grand a year. Let's say if you have 2 kids, that's 26 grand. And let's say that you're in a 30% tax bracket or 35% tax bracket. That's $10,000 that you just saved right there. And let's say you're going to times that by, let's just say you're going to do that for 10 years. That's $90,000 that you just saved on your 2 kids over 10 years. I don't know about you, but every $90,000 helps. That's just one little thing, right? So that right there would be potentially $90,000. Now, if you really maximize this, again, you can do this for 15 years and you had 2 kids times 15 years, that's 30 total years times 12,950 equals $388,000 times 0.35. That would be $135,000 that you just saved in taxes over the life of your kids. So was it already worth your time coming on this call so far that you basically just made $135,000? Sachin is so handsome. So is Thaddeus. Double the money. Hey, Ann, who's more handsome, Sachin with hair or me bald? What do you think it would be better? So here's the thing. So that's one thing. But here's the thing. You just need to document it, right? So you need to document it, not going there. And you're coming to the annual retreat, right? And Sachin's going to be there. We'll do a 3-way picture there. You're not bald. Is Sachin bald, or you just shave it all off?
I shave it off, but well, it depends on what part of my head you're referring to.
Just migrated.
So the top is bald, the sides still grow in, and the back still grows in. So the top is gone.
It's just gravity. It's just like sagging skin. Our hair as we get older just like drags to lower parts on our body features. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, it eventually just ends up on our back, right? Us dudes, we have fun stuff to worry about. I guess girls have other things that sag over time, but anyways, we won't go there. Okay. So when we're looking at this, so you got to think about this for your kids, right? So you can write that off. But here's the thing: you just want to make sure that you document it. So it has to be age appropriate, because the IRS has a rule that says reasonable and necessary. And reasonable and necessary does not mean absolutely vital. It doesn't have to be a mission critical. So you could say if you have your 7-year-old kid that helps you file, or you have your 7-year-old kid that empties the trash, or that cleans up after a staff party, or organizes your office file, like come up with something and work it out, make it age appropriate and document it appropriately, right? And obviously if you have a 15-year-old, that makes perfect sense that you could be paying them, in my mind anyways, it makes perfect sense that you could be paying them to be doing your social media, or you arguably have them pay you, because that's more screen time for them, right? So like you can set it up so it's age appropriate for them. And you can set up a checking account and help them start investing, or you can take that money, back out or whatever and put it in their college fund or whatever the case may be. I think you should invest it in something. But that's one thing, right? The other thing would be this: is we want to try to move all of as many of your expenses as you can from after taxes to before taxes. So the IRS, I use the term DAPPR, DAPPR. And it stands for, you want to be able to document the date, the amount, the place, the purpose, and the relationship. So DAPPR, DAPPR, date, the date, amount, place, purpose, and relationship. Now, I've worked with a handful of IRS agents. We have a firm that we work with. They have about a team of about 100, They have about 2,500 clients they work with. They have an IRS former auditing agent that works on staff. And I've talked to other IRS agents and they say this, what do you guys think is the number one reason that IRS disallows expenses? What do you think the number one reason is? Bingo. Sachin, you're handsome and you're brilliant. Documentation. You're absolutely right. Documentation, document. Now, your documentation, I don't want to get too squishy with this because I want to tell you document as best as possible, but it can be something such as here's the record on my calendar that I said, business meeting with Sachin to talk about, best, skincare for our scalps, so we can like document that as like a business expense because we're starting a new product line or something, right? So I can have it in my calendar. So I may not be able to write it on the receipt that Sachin and I, had dinner together, but I can have it in my calendar. So there's different forms of documentation. The IRS also shows that you don't actually need a receipt if it's under what dollar amount? $75. So if it's under $75, you don't need a receipt. Now, I don't suggest you not have a receipt. There's different apps out there now that you can do that. You can like just scan in a receipt. So you don't have to, have the shoebox anymore. Trying to think if I have it here. I think it's called For Receipt. Yeah, I think For Receipt is the one that our team uses. I'm not an owner or anything in it. I think it's FORECEIPT. I'm not vouching for it. I don't necessarily like it, but I believe I can't say I like it or don't like it. Our team uses it. So whatever the case may be, but find something that works for you. So then you can document those things as appropriately, because we want to shift your after-tax expenses to your before-tax expenses. That's really what we want to be shifting as most we can. In the US, the IRS just changed last year the code from meals and entertainment from 50% write-off to 100% write-off. Now, here's the thing. Now, I'm not telling you, again, you should or shouldn't do this, but I'm sharing you things that I do. For me, I don't have one laying around here, but I'm in healthcare, right? So I have a cookbook. I mean, like a legitimate cookbook. It's thick. We paid a professional chef, all these things. Like, it's a legitimate cookbook that I have and that we've made and that we've self-published. So that's a product that we've created for our patients, right? So we have clear documentation that we are planning and evaluating recipes, right? So for me, I have a business that is one of my businesses. I have like 13 businesses, but part of those are just real estate holding companies. But one of them is my health coaching business because I'm in healthcare. So for me, I buy my groceries through that. Why? Because I use my groceries, and not all of them, but a large percentage of my groceries, because I'm doing meal preparation and experimentation for recipes and meals that I can go educate my patients on. So how many of you educate your patients on proper diet? Again, you need to run this by your CPA, but ask them how much would be reasonable of my groceries to write off for research for educating my patients. Now, here's the thing, what you should be doing, right? Because like my friend, you guys ever follow the Real Brad Lee? You look at the Real Brad Lee, I just forgot what I was going to say, so I'm not even going to say it. Anyways, he's a cool guy. You should go follow him. Anyways, but what I was going to say is that if you're able to start writing off your groceries as legitimate expenses for research and development for your patients. Now, if you just happen to not just slide it into the trash, but you just happen to eat it, well, that's up to you, right? It's kind of like if you have a patient party, or if you have a patient appreciation party, or if you have a staff party and you buy maybe a little too much wine and that wine just happens to make it home with you, so those are the areas that are up to you in terms of that some of those squishy areas, right? But the IRS, they really want people to get back into restaurants because the restaurants got absolutely clobbered because the government is stupid, right? And they told people what to do on private property. So now the government is like feeling bad for people, and they say, well, we're going to allow you to write off 100% meals and entertainment. So going out to eat, make sure you're writing that off through your business, and you're documenting that either before, during, or after you spoke about business. Sachin, great to see you, man. Can't wait to have dinner with you. How's business going? Going pretty good? Awesome. Cool, man. Done. Talked about business, right? And it can be with a client. It could be with a past client, current client, or a prospective client. Who isn't a prospective client? If you're in healthcare or if you're an entrepreneur, as far as I'm concerned, everyone is a damn prospective client. As far as I'm concerned, it's like, what was it? Who was it? Kanye West or someone that said, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman." And that's the thing that I encourage you guys to consider is, or Jay-Z, thank you. It is Jay-Z, right? It's switching it around that it's you are the business. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Brad Lee, he talks about, he thinks the next $500 million that people are really gonna make, one of the fastest sectors for $500 million, you know what he thinks it is? Personal brand. I'm not saying you have to be Gary Vaynerchuk, but look at Gary Vaynerchuk. He makes $200,000 a day passively because of people retrading his NFTs. NFTs weren't even a thing 2 or 3 years ago. But because he has a brand, he was able to go out and he had an audience to sell to. So you're in healthcare. So when you take pictures of that food, post it to your social media and create your brand. That's what you should be doing anyways. And then you have documentation that you created a healthy, anti-inflammatory, anti-disease, health, longevity, vitality promoting 1,000-year life extension meal, and you posted it on social media. And that's building your brand and positioning you as the expert, because you are a businessman or a businesswoman, however you want to phrase it. So we want to shift as many expenses as you can forward on the front end. I'm gonna pause there and make sure that we're getting some of these questions answered. So Sachin, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer it, or if someone else has one as well.
Curious, Thaddeus, as you mentioned the food thing, is how that works if hypothetically I wanted to host a meeting where I paid for everyone's dinner today on Zoom.
Yeah.
Or if they were eating a meal while they were on this conversation, like could something like that work?
Say that again.
Devil's advocate, like if let's say hypothetically that we were all eating dinner, we all bought our dinner, and during the Zoom call we were discussing business. Would that be something we could write off?
That's a great question. I would say yes. I would say we had a business meeting and I ordered Uber Eats or whatever it is, and it came here and we ordered it. Yeah, I would make that argument that it was. And here's the thing, you guys. There's a big difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance. Here's the thing. Tax evasion is you're not reporting income, or you're claiming deductions that never happened. Don't do that. Always claim your income and always document as best you can your expenses. Tax avoidance is what we're talking about. Tax avoidance is the legal recommended method of legally compliantly reducing your taxes. And if Sachin, like to that example, which is a great question, if the IRS comes back and says this is disallowed, then from there it's a discussion and it's a negotiation. Thaddeus, I'm not going to write off these groceries. Well, why not? Because you can see on this date, I posted this meal. Yeah. Oh, well, okay. And then like, how much energy are they going to spend arguing that, right? Then it's an argument and discussion. And if you have documentation and it seems reasonable and necessary, you're likely going to win. And here's the thing. There are so many people doing so many wrong things out there. The IRS has so many other low-hanging fruit to go after. So if you show up, because usually if and when you ever get audited, there's usually a layers that they go through. Usually they'll do like what's called like a desk audit. Well, they'll just say, hey, we're looking over these 4 or 5 things. Can you just send us these receipts and evidence of that? And what you want to do is you want to come back as strong as you can on those first ones and show, Bob, I met with this, I did that, I did this, I did this, pull through your records, do everything as solid as you can. You want steel built on granite, right? You want like, show that. So that way, when they get that, they think, whoa, okay. So like, there's no reason to check under the hood. Like these guys got their shit together, right? The problem is if you write back and you're like, oh yeah, I don't really have that. I don't know what that was or anything. Now they're like, okay, now let's start looking under the hood. And then they'll say, okay, now we want to do a more advanced audit. Now we want to come to your office. Now we want to call up your CPA and all these other things. So that's why you want to have things on the front end as best as possible, because if you can have that on the front end, then you're going to be much stronger with the documentation. And you can say, no, Mike, look, like I have this written agreement that every morning at 10 a.m., my 7-year-old goes through, they take out all the trashes, they organize all the files in my inbox, and they do this between 8 and 9, and then at 9 o'clock they catch the bus, right? Like you have it really clearly stated out. Or on the weekends before they go play with their friends, every Saturday before they do anything, they have to do blah, and so that you have that backstory that clearly lines it out.
Another thing that comes up, this might be totally off topic, but I just thought I might ask. So, when we pay our employees, we have to pay taxes on what we pay them, right? So we have to pay for here in Canada, we have to pay their CPP and Social Security and stuff like that. Now, if they were to, let's just say, yeah, exactly, right? So let's just say that a team member wants to buy a new computer.
Yeah.
And that could be justified as a business expense. But if I pay them, like, let's say it's $1,500 for the computer.
Yep.
If they buy that out of their pay, then they're getting taxed on that. And then they're getting taxed again for buying the computer.
Yep.
So would it make more sense for me to buy the computer for them through the business and then subtract it from their pay?
Great question. So again, I love that, because we want to try to shift as many expenses. So here's the thing, just look at all the things that you're spending money on and ask yourself, is this related to the business? And if it is, get it moved so you're paying for it with pre-tax dollars. So your point exactly, Sachin. So here's the thing, and this is where it gets a little bit squishy. I don't know what the exact dollar amount is, but if you're buying in, so here's the thing, I want to placehold this for a second. We're looking at independent contractors or 1099s versus W-2s and employees, at least that's what it's called in the US. If you're giving employees, I think it's over, I don't know what the dollar amount, I'm just going to make this up, so don't write this down, but I'm just making up a number. If it's over like $5,000, then in perks, benefits, housing, etc., then it needs to be documented as income. So if you buy them a $2,000 computer, they may need to show that as income. But meaning like if you buy it from the business, you give it to them. However, anytime you can move people to being independent contractors, that will help everybody win, because you're not paying the income tax, or you're not paying the employment taxes, FICA and all this other healthcare stuff, nonsense, and they're not getting taxed as well. Because I know for me, like if we have a for just an easy number, if we have an employee at $100,000, that's really costing us about $120,000 when you put in the employment taxes, the Medicare cost, the health insurance, all this other nonsense, and they're getting taxed about another 20 or 30,000. So they're only getting around 70,000. So if you say, I'm going to pay you 100 grand, the cost of the business is actually 120, probably actually 125 when you factor in the fractional HR support, et cetera. It's 125, and they're only getting 70. So there's almost $50,000 is just going to governmental nonsense. So anytime you can go to an independent contractor, you get a full deduction and they get the full income, and then they get to do the exact same thing that you're doing on the front end. So if you can have employees that can be moved, but it has to make sense for your business, if you can move them to independent contractors, then buying that computer is absolutely fine. But here's one of the things with independent contractors, there are some different tests that you have to be able to do with that. With healthcare providers, it's easy. In the US, anyways, it's really easy because medical providers in the US are really deemed independent contractors or employees. They can wear either hat because they're working autonomously. So they check one of the big boxes of what it means to be an independent contractor, because they're directing patient care, they're working under their license. So there's a lot of things that they check the box on, versus a receptionist. It's harder to justify the receptionist in an independent contractor unless you're paying a company that is like providing you receptionist, like temporary work help or something like that. So yeah, good question. So let's go back. I see a few here coming through here. Even better so Ann says if the 1099 contract is an LLC. Yes, exactly, Ann. Yes, if you are 1099ing someone, it actually should be a business. I would, again, if they're a sole prop, then you're just opening yourself up for audit and so forth. So I would say, make the independent contractor, I would make the requirement say, we only partner and we only contract with businesses. So you need to be a businessman. So make sure that they are a business and you're contracting with the business, not the individual. Be careful. So be careful with independent contractors that used to be employees, the EDD in the US, all of it. Yeah. So yes, you do. Yeah. You just want to be cognizant of that. Absolutely. Was there a question up there from, okay, there's a question from Anya. If an accountant has advised to claim as much income as possible through the goal of pursuing a property. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh God, I love this question. This is painful. This is like screwdriver in the eye right here for me. Okay, guys, I love this one. So the question was from Anya. I love this question. This is a very common one. It says, if an accountant has advised to claim as much income as possible to the goal of purchasing a property, what is your thoughts around that? Find a new CPA. That CPA is a horrible person. They probably mean well at heart. I shouldn't say that. They're probably a really good, loving soul. They're just really misguided, and they're exhibiting conventional wisdom. I can't tell you for how many years I've shown losses on my properties, and I bought millions of dollars. I don't know if you can see this right here. I'm not showing. Well, now it's kind of plugged in the back. I'm going to give you a quick tour of the chateau here. But I've shown losses for years and still been able to acquire millions of dollars in real estate. So we can talk about some of that, because you don't have to show money in income to be able to buy a house. There's a thing, write this down, write down this, add backs. Do you guys know what add backs are? If not, put in add backs. I claim the same problem. We get our income as low as possible for tax purposes, but couldn't refinance. Yeah. So here's the thing, you guys. So I've spent a lot in the real estate space. I'm part of, I spend tens of thousands of dollars to be part of real estate groups. I have people pay me tens of thousands of dollars to be in my real estate group, because there's so much to learn and understand with this. The nice thing is in real estate, you do one deal right and you're a millionaire. All you have to do is do one deal right and you're a millionaire. I've done this multiple times over. So I know that it's reproducible. I know that it's a recipe, and I know that it can be done. And I know it can be done regardless of income, regardless of credit score, regardless of how much money you have in the bank. It doesn't matter. If you're willing to learn, you can become a millionaire tax-free. I know it's kind of, I don't mean that to be just a little side note that I'm saying here. I don't mean to just like drop that bomb, but I really do believe and know and feel in my heart, because I've done it time and again, you can be a millionaire relatively quickly, regardless of where you're at with your money in real estate. So add backs are this. Add back is this. So when I first opened my very first clinic, it was so here, I'm gonna paint this story for you guys, because you're gonna love this. Because if I can do this, I guarantee you can do it. It was the height of the housing crisis, 2008, 2009, right? I was building my very first clinic. I was making around $4,000 a month. And the building that I was buying, brand new construction, I don't know how I even got a loan for that, but I got a loan and the mortgage was going to be more than what I was grossing. I was so upside down. I was so ignorant. I didn't know anything about anything then. I was just a really good practitioner that knew how to work really, really hard until I passed out or would almost die. Like that was like, I've passed out running races before. Like I know how to push myself beyond what's even healthy or which I should be doing. So my answer is just to work harder, like find it, like grind it till you find it kind of thing, right? That was my mindset. So I was upside down, like, we'll figure this out. I'll just work longer hours, harder hours, etc. And I was showing a loss, and houses were on sale, right? So in this golf course community, there was this house for sale for $250,000. And I went in, and my office manager said, if anybody can buy this house while showing a huge loss, it's going to be Thaddeus, or it's going to be Dr. Gala. She was what she said. And sure enough, I got a loan and I got this house. I got that house. It was $250,000. Now it's worth around $600,000. So how did I get this house? And how did I get it with no money out of pocket? I did what's called add backs. So I went to my lender. So this is the thing. If you call, I had my cousin say, Thaddeus, I called 3 lenders and they all told me no. Well, you called 17 too few lenders. It's the 80-20 rule. You got to call 20 different banks. You got to knock on 20 doors. Life is a contact sport. You got to be making contacts. So you got to do this. Call 20 different banks and ask them, do you allow for ad backs? And this is what I did. I said, do you allow for ad backs? And they said, actually, I kind of learned this because someone said, well, my banker actually kind of educated me on this, but now I ask if they allow for ad backs. So this is what an ad back was. Hey, you know, Mrs. Banker, I just bought an x-ray machine for $60,000. I'm not going to be buying another x-ray machine next year. Can I add that back towards my income? Yeah, that's a reasonable one-time expense. Great, we'll add that back in. Awesome. I just bought a bunch of equipment for my clinic. Can I add that back in? Yes. So go through and find all the things that you're spending money on that you can add back in. So let's say this, if you join Sachin's mastermind group for $100,000 and you use that to zero out your taxes, because you know that joining Sachin's mastermind is gonna make you a shit ton of money because the things he's gonna teach you, which I've no doubt that he has and will. I mean, you know, if you pay Sachin 100 grand, I've no doubt that he's going to be making you at least $1 million, right? You should 10x that. That when you go to the lender, they say, well, what's this, you know, what's this $100,000 that's being sent to, you know, to Mr. Sexy in Canada? And you're like, well, it's a one-time payment for this mastermind group, you know, and they say, well, okay, well, tell me more about it. Well, it's this one-time thing. It's this vendor. He's really smart. He's going to really help me grow my business, et cetera. It's a one-time expense. Can we add that back in? Sure. Yeah, we'll add that back in and we'll count that as a positive for you when we're looking at your debt service coverage and your debt to income ratio. So add backs are where you get to argue your case and you get to say all of these things are one-time expenses or they should be added back in. You can, like for me, when I go to banks, I add back in my vehicle because I'm writing my vehicle off as a business expense, but I'm writing that off. So I have my Tesla payment, I have my Highlander, I have a couple other vehicles, I have my plane, I have all these things that I just lump back in. That's, you know, I don't know, add that up. That's probably 5, 6, 7 grand a month that I can just lump back in. So that's, I don't know, let's just do some quick math on that. Let's just call it 5 grand times 12. That's $60,000 that I get to add back in as an add back just for vehicles that I have going through the business, right? So look at all the things that you're spending money on that are personal. And here's the beautiful thing of it, you guys. With the bank and with the IRS, you get to have your cake and eat it too. You can tell the bank, these are all business, or you can tell the IRS, these are business expenses and write them off. But when you talk to the bank, you can kind of argue your case and say that x-ray machine is a one-time expense. So it's actually, even though I'm telling the IRS that it's an expense, which it is, and it's counting in my favor to reduce taxes, I can count it towards my income over here with the bank simply because I had this conversation. And I'm going to share with you guys, I'm going to share with you guys my magic sentence. This one magic sentence has made me more money than probably anything else that I can remember. So write this down and don't change a word of it. If you're going to change a word of it, you're already screwing up. Like, follow the script. If you're going to go listen to your favorite musician and listen to your favorite musical song in the world on the radio and you're going to dance your heart out, you want the words to be exactly right. You don't want to go and pay, you know, to hear your favorite musician play and you're singing along and they change the lyrics on you when you're at the concert. That ruins everything, right? So don't overthink this. Follow this script, okay? So write this down. Under what circumstances? So Anne, you used it. Anne just used it to get a better deal on her car. Anne, so Anne's in our mastermind group. So Anne's in the Guardians. So we have a plant. Just to be clear, there you are, Anne. Good to see you, girl. Now, just to be clear, I don't think I knew Anne was going to be here, and Anne's not planted, you know, she's here for real. Anne, what was the better deal you got on your car with the magic sentence?
Well, so it's a new to me used car, but I wanted to take it off premises and go have my mechanic do a pre-purchase inspection on it. And they said that I was going to, so this is where it all started. It said, well, you can put a $500 non-refundable deposit down. And I said, well, $500 seems a little unreasonable. And they said, well, that's just it. And I said, well, under what circumstances have you allowed for people to put down less of a non-refundable deposit, or under what circumstances have you allowed people to get their money back on a deposit? And they okay, how about 200? And I said, okay, well, 200 non-refundable, but how about, under what circumstances could that be refundable? And so I was able to put down a $200 refundable deposit to take the car off premises to go have my mechanic look at it. Then when we brought it back and it got a clean bill of health, but there was some little, I want the headlights buffed out. There was no floor mats. It needed some things that it needed. Well, we can't do that. We're at the max. Oh, well, under what circumstances have you provided that? So
Yeah.
I got new windshield wipers. I got my windshield sealed. I got my floor mats. I got my headlights buffed out.
Look at this. Look at this. Boy, Ann, you couldn't have been now, I love that, Ann. Now, here's the thing. I better not be receiving, how many people are on here? I better not be receiving 88 damn messages of Thaddeus under what circumstance. And you guys can't use this on me the same way. If you do, you got to warm me up a little bit. You can't just like throw it in there. So here's the thing. This is how the magic sentence works. So it goes like this. So word for word, under what circumstances would you be willing to consider? And then ideally, you put in one of three things. So under what circumstances would you be willing to consider? That's the lead in. And then the back end is where you get to put in whatever you want. Under what circumstances would you be willing to consider? And then put anything in there. So like in this case, under what circumstances would you be willing to consider, not having me pay that $500 deposit? And here's the thing, there's a follow-up to the magic sentence. And people say, oh, well, we just can't do it. So here's the thing. Ideally, you want to give people either like a single choice, or you want to give them a binary choice. That's awesome. Thank you, Sachin. So here's the thing. Under what circumstances would you be willing to consider a full or a reduced? So that's a binary close. In sales, they call it a binary close. Under what circumstances would you be willing to consider a full or a reduced deposit? In this case, like if I was Ann, this is what I would be doing it. This does several things, you guys. I can't tell you how much magic there are in these words, because here's the thing. As opposed to saying, well, will you give me the $500 deposit? Will you just take that off? They can just say no, right? But you're asking them this question. And here's the thing. Here, let me ask you guys, why is this magic sentence so juicy? I don't know how many NLP or how many marketers or how many psychologists or how many people that have spent time understanding human behavior are in here. It's an open-ended question. That's good. What else? Good job, SJ. Because someone answering no feels inflexible. Sort of, yeah. Deals with their empathy. Yeah, I could be on board with that. Both answers are yes. Yep. If I'm saying that, Marika, I think you're making them come up with the solution. And yes, I like all that. Ask about their view, encourage them to think of a path forward. Wonderful. It assumes there are options, there's flexibility. I love all this. So I love all these, you guys. This is brilliant. I love it. It drives their thinking into their yes scenario. Perfect. Anna just said it so good. So all these are good. Trips them up. I don't like to really trip people up. If you guys are using it, Michael Fishman, I love him. He says, let's not use the word tripwire anymore. Let's use welcome mat. I love welcome mat. So I don't want to trip people up. I don't want to gotcha. I want solutions. So I really love that, driving into a thinking of a yes scenario, because if you're saying under what circumstances, it leaves it infinitely open that anything can happen. Under what circumstance? I've had this discussion with people that are very religious before. Under what circumstances would you be willing to consider that maybe you're wrong about your religion, right? So like, it's crazy the answers people come up with. So, under what circumstances would you be willing to shift political parties? So here's the thing. They say they'll come up with a response, and it'll allow the framework and the playground for their mind to think of solutions that can work. And then whatever they give you, now you go to work solving those solutions. This is how I bought a $1.6 million piece of real estate for $10,000 out of pocket and made $900,000 in 5 years, tax-free. So, and I can walk you through how I did that with the magic sentence if you want as well. But on the magic sentence, under what circumstances would you be willing to consider? And you can either do one thing or you can do an either or. So you can say, under what circumstances would you be willing to consider? And here's the thing, there's a follow-up magic sentence. Is if they just like give you the, not going to do it kind of thing. Nope, we're not giving you that refund or whatever. Or we're not allowing for add backs. then you say it a little bit differently. And Anne did it. She did it perfectly, instinctually. Okay, great. So, you know, the how to win friends and influence people, right? With Dale Carnegie. What do you do first after somebody says no, or if someone objects? What do you do first? I know we're kind of getting into sales and marketing here, but this is still all tax related. So if someone says no, what do you do first, or what do you give them? Acknowledge. So yes, even more than that, you always agree, right? Say no, we can't waive the refund. Great, I get it. And you know what? If I were you, I'd feel the exact same way. I can appreciate that. So acknowledge them and agree with them. And then you just ask it again, but a little bit different. So the second magic question is this. I get that. Yeah, I can respect that. And here's the thing. So my girlfriend, she mentors billionaires and millionaires. She works with high level companies in Silicon Valley. And she always says this. Instead of saying, she helps even coach me on communication because she's a brilliant at it. She, rather than saying like, I can see your perspective, because people can sit back and say, how do you know you see my perspective? You don't see my perspective. Or if you can say, well, I can appreciate that. Well, I don't really need your appreciation. She says this, she loves this word. I can respect where you're coming from. Because if you respect where you're coming from, they can't argue with that. But it's also a sign of respect and acknowledgement. I can respect where you're coming from. I can agree with that. And here's the other thing. And if I were you, I would be feeling the exact same way. And this is the follow-up magic question. With that in mind, under what circumstances in the past have you ever allowed for fill in the blank? Under what circumstances in the past have you ever allowed for? Because we humans, it's really hard for humans to be dishonest. And so if they've ever done it in the past, you know, I've done this to get free flights. Sir, I'm sorry, sir, we can't because it was a weather issue. So we can't give you a refund on your ticket or get you a new flight. I get that. You know, I understand you're in a tough spot. I can respect that. But you know, Mrs. Flight Attendant, you know, under what circumstances in the past have you ever given passengers a free night stay or a meal voucher or rebooked them on another flight? Well, let me see what I can do. I can't tell you how many free flights I've gotten, how many free, I know it's going to sound weird, but how many free pieces of real estate I've gotten by saying this, by asking the magic question in the follow-up. So say this to your banker. Under what circumstance in the past have you ever allowed for add backs? So you can use on all kinds of things. So yeah, so I'll pause there because there's a lot of directions we can go. Where do we want to go? Where do we want to go now? Do you want to talk about more tax savings tips? I guess I'd love to hear this. I don't know if you want to put a poll up. I don't know if you can, Sachin. Are people paying? I'd love to maybe even know. Are people paying less than 30,000 in taxes or more than 30,000 in taxes?
I put that poll together. Give me one moment.
Okay, let's maybe do like 3. Like, are people paying less than 30, between 30 and 100, and above 100 in taxes? Because we can talk about wherever people are, we can talk about specific strategies for that tax level to further reduce it. If people aren't able to move all of their income to or all their expenses to before, we can do it. We can talk about other more advanced strategies. What I call like the juicy strategies to really build tax-free wealth. So I see a lot of people saying, or maybe a couple people talking about real estate. Do you want to talk about real estate a little bit? Yes. Okay. So yes. Okay. So I see a handful of yeses there. So okay. All right. $200 or so really reduce the taxable income. Gabriel, I'm not sure what that means. $200 or so really reduce the taxable income. Okay, let's talk about real estate. So I'll share one thing, and that is, why do I love real estate so much? The reason I love real estate so much is because it never goes to zero. It pays you while you sleep, and the rule of 10 states that we're going to have our original purchase price in 10 years, if not sooner, and you can use very little to no money out of pocket, and you can control a very, very significant asset. So I'm not going to answer it just because I don't want to skew the results. So yeah, go ahead and put that in there. So here's the thing. So I'm going to share with you one deal that I did, because I think it carries a lot of nuances and subtleties to it. And I mean, Sachin, if people have to run, do we want to talk about the annual retreat a little bit, and that some special gifts that we have for people?
Yeah, I was going to suggest that, just so
Okay.
nobody misses that opportunity.
Do you want to share it, or do you want to share? Do you want to spill the beans, or do you want me to spill it?
How about you spill it, man? It's your thing.
Okay. So guys, here's the deal, you guys. We have an amazing, so one of my favorite times of the year is when we have our annual retreat. And we have our annual retreat this year is down in the tropics in the Caribbean. And it's where for me, it's the space where we collapse time. And what I want to do is I want to make it brain dead easy for you guys to absolutely blow it out of the water. Because the fact, I came to Sachin and we were talking about this at Genius Network, and we talked a couple of times, but I know that people within a community and a tribe, they're already awesome people. And so surrounding yourself with awesome people, I know, believe it or not, can sometimes be hard, right? Like out in the world, finding awesome people. So for me, I just love being around awesome people, because that's when magic happens. Because I know if you get the right playmates and the right playgrounds, awesome things happen that you don't even know you don't know that come out of that. Just like Sachin, right? You and I, we met at Mindshare. We met at a mastermind. So here's the thing, you guys, because masterminds and communities are so powerful, the very fact that you're learning this stuff right now is because both Sachin and I recognized and appreciated the power of community and networking and relationships. And he and I crossed paths and said, hey, there's some synergy here. Hey, you know what? Let's help other people. And that's even why we're doing this call, is because of that. So I share that because that's a real life example of a transformative relationship that I've gotten out of being in masterminds and so forth. So we have our annual retreat that comes up this year in Puerto Rico, where for me, it's my effort to collapse time. And it's where we try to bring in experts from all different fields to come in. Like we're gonna have Bobby and Sophia Castro. They have a $300 to $400 million real estate portfolio. They're going to be talking. We have Dave Meltzer's going to be there. Natasha Graziano, one of the world's premier women speakers that's out there. We have Gary Vaynerchuk is going to be one of our keynotes on site there. I don't know if you guys, how many people know Gary Vaynerchuk? So I think a lot of you do. So Gary Vaynerchuk, I think right now, his brand is getting so big. It is so hard to even get contact with Gary V. To go to his event, the minimum payment, I believe right now to go to his event is $17,000, is I believe the cheapest ticket to go see Gary V at his event. Our event right now, our VIP tickets are $10K, and they're even actually still $5K right now. Our general admission tickets are $3K, and they're only, I think, like $1,000 right now to come to our event in Puerto Rico. But wait, there's more. So for Sachin and I, what we were talking about is for two things. And Sachin, is it okay if I talk about the two different tiers that we were going to offer and the gifts?
Yeah, let's do it.
So here's the thing. I do these events and retreats. Yes, obviously we need to make money. More important to me is having the right people in the room. And so as a gift to Sachin, I said, Sachin, I love you, man. You're awesome. You're a rock star. I just want to make this brain dead easy for you and for your group. So I'll tell you what, even though it's 17 grand to see Gary V at his event, and it's 10 grand for our VIP and 3 grand for general admission, for anybody that's on this webinar that came, we'll give you a ticket for $500. If you get to Puerto Rico on your own, we'll give you a ticket for $500, which candidly is about less. It's less than our costs, because here's the thing. On one of the nights, we are boating everybody out. We have 2 boats that we've reserved, and we're boating everybody out to a private island for a sunset linen white attire, sunset beachside dinner party, Gala, because my last name is Gala. So it's a Gala. We had to have fun with that. It's a Guardian Gala, a sunset beachside evening dinner that we are paying for your meal for you. So even just what you're going to be getting in meals and entertainment is arguably going to be less than the $500. I don't know if you have that link, Sachin, you can put it in the chat there for people. But
I do.
And Anne's going to be there. Anne just said, okay, Anne, and again, she's not a plant, but connections, amazing connections, really shifts the mindset. Yeah, Anne's awesome. This will be Anne's second year, I think, there. So you're going to get an opportunity to hear from these speakers, to meet these speakers, and to be around, I believe, the right playmates and playgrounds, talking about things like we're talking about here. We're going to go deeper into real estate. We're going to be talking about how to reduce your taxes, how to grow your brand, how to grow your business, etc. So you can really generate and create tax-free wealth. So it's $500. And for people that I think, Sachin, that are in your mastermind group, right? We have another thing for them.
Yep.
So because you've already invested in Sachin, and because I love Sachin so much, that for those of you that are already in Sachin's mastermind group, as an additional benefit and perk, because he's awesome and I love him, and to me, we're brothers from another mother. If you're already in his group, we're giving you a free ticket to the retreat. So for me, that's the benefit and the power of relationships. It's because it's not what you know, it's oftentimes who you know. So just because you've already invested in Sachin and you love him and you've already shown up, to me, that's a gift that I'm giving to Sachin and to all of you, because I love all of you, but I don't know you guys as well as I know Sachin. I look forward to meeting you guys more. But really, to me, that's a gift to Sachin, because he's done so much for me in helping me up level in my life, in my health, in my business, and just in ways of thinking, that for me, like that's a way that I feel that I can give. So to be clear, for those of you that are not members of Sachin's, it's just $500 to come to the retreat and hang out in the Caribbean for 3 days. And if you are a member, it's free. Now, to be clear, it is a $500 seat deposit, but as soon as you check in at the event, we refund you that $500, because unfortunately, there's been a couple events we've done in the past where we gave out a guest pass to like some young people, like I wanted to help them like up level, and they just didn't show up, and we already had the seat reserved. So it's a $500 refundable deposit that you get at check-in. So as soon as you show up, we give you a check as soon as you check in. So $500 for those that aren't a member of Sachin's group, but if you are a member, it's a $500 refunded deposit at check-in. So if you want to come and hang out with Gary V, myself, Sachin, and a whole host of other amazing, awesome entrepreneurs, come hang out. We have the whole resort reserved. It's right on the cliffs of the Caribbean. We have a whole water park that's reserved just for us and our whole group. We have a private island that we've reserved that we're boating everyone out to for the final day and for the final party, for a beachside party. And we have amazing speakers over several days. We have some entertainment on some of the evenings. So it's going to be a beautiful setting. It's going to be warm. You're going to be safe. You're going to be creative. I know for me, it's like the ultimate shower time, right? When you're warm, you're safe and relaxed. That's where your creativity comes. That's where I see this. This is warm. You're safe, and you're going to be relaxed. It really is going to be an opportunity to collapse time. So Anya just said we take care of flights and accommodation. Yeah. So you're in charge of your flight and your hotel, but you get there and you're dialed in. Now here's the thing: because Puerto Rico is part of the U.S., there's no vaccine requirement, there's no testing requirements, and there's no longer mask requirements. They just lifted all that.
All right.
I don't know about you guys, but to me, that's like almost more exciting than coming down to an event. It's just being able to work with that. So it looks like there's a question in there, Sachin. Which group mentorship members or also accelerator members? I'll leave that up to you, Sachin, because I'm not sure of the different tiers that you have, but I'll leave that up to you. You can answer that one.
Okay, yeah. So this will be for our mentorship members. So this is for people who are in our annual mentorship. So you're still getting a great deal for $500. So for those of you that are fully invested, you're going to get a valuable offer. And those of you that are in our mentorship, it'll be complimentary for you.
And let me just share this with you guys. I mean, if you want to go deeper with us, I mean, I'm happy to share. If people want, I'm happy to talk about some of the other products and service we offer, but we can just dive into real estate if people want instead. I just love to see who already knows that they're going to try to make it to the retreat, just even from what we've been talking about right now. Maybe just throw in the chat box there. Me, awesome. I can't, might, Samantha, there's no might, there's either yes or no, girlfriend. Come on, make it happen. Here's the thing, you guys. Look back at your life. This is an exercise a mentor I did for me. He said, look, there's in moments of decision, really that is when our life and our destiny is shaped, right? And I can equate the vast majority of my major transformational moments is when I had a fork in the road and I leaned into opportunities and I just showed up. The dates are April 25th through the 28th. So the dates are April 25th through the 28th. I'm gonna throw this on Sachin. I don't know if I said this before, but I'm gonna try to encourage Sachin to tell people, to tell his group to come down there on like a Monday. And I'm going to encourage him to do like a private mastermind group just for you guys on Monday down there, just because we have the whole resort reserved. So Sachin, if you want to come down there a day early and just have like a private day just for you and your tribe, and rent a room out where you guys can just have like a mastermind group there, you guys can do that. And I will find space and make a room available to you guys if you guys want to come down a day early, and you guys can all just do your own thing and do a deep dive for your members. If you want to do something like that, you're welcome to.
Very super generous. I will definitely take that into consideration.
Yeah.
Let's get
I kind of put you on the spot there.
Yeah, I'm going to look at my travel schedule and just see when we get in, but that would be super cool to be able to do that with our community. And thank you for opening up that space for us.
Absolutely. Because here's the thing. I remember recently, well, it was more recently than that, or further back than that. We were going to dinner, and I was just finally starting to make money, but I wasn't quite there yet. And I was still like, I was working hard, and I was just finally starting to get some money. And I remember I went into dinner with my stepdad at the time and my mom. And I said, well, yeah, let me get dinner. And he said, no, I'm going to get dinner. And I said, I can afford this now. I was out of school. He's like, you know what? I know you can afford it, but I'm in a place in my life where I can do this, and I want to gift this to you. And because I just want to do this for you. And I feel fortunate and blessed that I've worked hard. And I really believe, like Joe Polish said, life gives to the givers and takes from the takers. So for me, this is a way that I can give, because I know that if I can remove as many friction points as possible to you succeeding, to you making more money, to you keeping more money in your pocket, I know that all the people on this call are good people, and they're going to go out and do even more good in the world. I would just ask one thing. This is a complete gift, so there's no strings attached to it. I would say this, that if you do this, that you just at some time in your life consider paying this forward to someone, somewhere, someday down the line. And maybe you remember this conversation where you say, dude, I got this amazing opportunity to go for a drastically reduced price, basically free, to go hear people like Gary Vaynerchuk, Dave Meltzer, meet some awesome, amazing people. And you know what, Joe or John or Mary or Susie or whatever, let me help you in this situation. So I just ask that someday, somewhere down the world, that you pay it forward. I'm sure you all are already, but that I just ask that on some level. And so anyways, I'd love to see you guys down there. I'm looking forward to it. And I can't wait to rock and roll. Because I know with Gary V, I don't know how much you've been following, but his brand is blowing up right now. And I know he's going to be getting even harder to even get around. And that guy sees around corners. The trends that he's able to see and pick up on, just a few things that he said, just even around TikTok and my brand, has already just blown up my business. So this guy, he's so in touch with what's going on in the trends and what's coming. I can't wait because we're gonna have a live Q&A with him, that I think this might be one of the last public events that Gary Vee is speaking at other than his own. I think we were able to secure him as a speaker right before the doors closed, other than only hearing him speak at his event. Now his event, our event is capped out at 500. I don't know where we're at. I know we're starting to get pretty close to that right now. I think his event is like tens of thousands. So to even be able to get this close, to be able to ask questions and to get this close to someone like Gary Vee, Natasha Graziano, Dave Meltzer, these kind of people, and to get their insights, to be able to ask them questions in the flesh, like for me, I'm just tickled pink. I'm like a pig in shit. Like I just can't wait for it. Like I'm just so happy to be down here and be in this playground with everything. Do you guys have any questions about the retreat, April 25th through the 28th in Puerto Rico at El Conquistador Resort? We're going to boat you out to a private island. It's going to be an awesome party. If you guys do want to do VIP, you can do that. I'm not covering that cost. If you guys do want VIP, we have a special VIP day for you guys. You guys get to hang out specifically with the speakers during lunch. You get an additional private island experience. You get a handful of other benefits by being in VIP, so you certainly can do that as well. So I'm happy to keep going, Sachin. If people want to, I can dive into real estate. We can get juicy on that. We can talk more about tax reduction. We can talk about some of the strategies that we use specifically with the Guardians for tax reduction. Where do you want to go from here?
Well, I want to honor your time as well. You've been so generous. So how about we go for maybe 10 more minutes?
Okay.
And let's go into real estate.
Okay.
And then I've posted the link for those of you to go ahead and get registered. So make sure you leverage that. There is no replay for this. I did mention that in the email. So we told everyone there's no replay. So if you stuck around this long, there's a reason, a greater, grander purpose for this. And the reason we're not sharing a replay is because we wanted only people who sign up and who are committed. A lot of people are flaky.
No one watches replays.
Yeah, they sign up for shit and then they don't show up. Well, guess what? Forget it. The universe doesn't work that way. The universe.
A replay is about as valuable as, it's basically just asking. When people ask me for a replay, it's basically like 9 times out of 10, it's basically them saying that it's not, it's just an excuse to not invest the time to watch or listen to something. Not always. I don't want everyone to have that buzz. Okay, so someone just asked, how do we work with you and your group? Do you want to, is it okay if I talk?
Yeah,
about
sure. Sorry, my internet
or?
keeps cutting out. So
okay,
if I cut out for a second, you just fill in for me.
Yeah, 100% fair enough. It does mean that people have a really busy schedule. I don't mean to just shit all over everyone. I don't mean to just pigeon management where I just come in, shit all over everything and leave. I don't mean that. I do know that people have busy schedules, they have lives. So if people want to, yeah, Berta, absolutely. If people want to work directly with us, we have what's called our MAP, which is the maximum assessment program. It's $7,500, and we spend, for me personally, I'll work with you 1 hour on a Zoom call. I'll map everything out that you want to do let me see here. Yeah, everything that you want to do, or that I think you should be doing to reduce your taxes. And like I said, if we don't find at least $20,000 of tax savings, then I'll just refund you, and it's not worth it. So basically, if you want a full tax assessment, it's $7,500. I'll sit with you on a Zoom call for upwards of an hour. I'll deep dive. I'll do like a full like a patient evaluation and figure out what we need to do, and we should be able to save you $20,000 even before we get off that call. And my goal is then to map out the next 1 to 5 years for you. I then come back to you and I give you a 1 to 5 year game plan of how to reduce and eliminate your taxes upwards of 96%. And as well as I'll make the right CPA referral to make sure that you have everything documented, appropriately itemized, all that stuff. And so you have a CPA firm that's stamping on everything with their license to make sure that everything, all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. So for me, again, it's trying to make it a no-brainer from the sense of you pay $7,500. If in that 1 hour, we don't make you at least $20,000 in tax savings, which the rule of 6, $20,000 is what? Times 6, that means $120,000 of top line revenue. So here's the thing, you're paying us $7,500. And if you don't make the equivalent of $120,000 of top line revenue, I'm going to refund you the $7,500. If it doesn't get any better than that, I don't know what does. So we do that with a map, and that would give you a full assessment and everything to really drastically and customize your tax reduction program. So if you want the map, you can message me there, or you can find me on social media. You can tell I'm really prepared for this because I don't have a link or anything for it. So let me know if you want to do that. Okay, so let's talk about real estate. So let's talk about this one piece of property. Here's what I did, you guys. I used the magic sentence. I found this piece of property, and it had been for sale for about 6 months. And that means one of two things. There's either something wrong with it, or there's something really good that no one's picking up on. And this building was $1.6 million. And I'm going to kind of truncate this for time, okay? A $1.6 million commercial property. Most people don't realize the bigger the deal, the more creative people will become. Write that down. The bigger the deal, the more creative people will become. This won't work very well typically. It can though. I've seen it work. I've done it multiple times. But the bigger the deal you go to take down, the more likely that this will work. This building was for sale for $1.6 million. And it's a commercial piece of property, which I didn't know this at the time, but turns out banks will lend more on the asset than they will on the individual. Again, banks will lend more on the asset than they will on the individual when it's either an investment property, multifamily, commercial, etc. So I went to the sellers. What's one of the first things that you should always ask whenever you're talking to somebody? Whenever you're talking with somebody, what's one of the first things you want to establish whenever you're entering into a conversation with somebody? Berta, seller financing. Michael, you hit it right on the head, but I want a little more juicy, Michael. So rapport, what do you want to trust? What do you want to determine when you do your rapport? What do you want to find out? Why are you selling? Aaron, you're absolutely right. That's why you're selling. That you're great. I want to go up one. So let's go one level deeper in terms of why they're selling. So Michael, you just hit on their head. You just hit on the head there. You want to understand not the why they're selling, but you want to understand the emotional reason why. You want to understand what their emotional reason is. So yes, you're absolutely right. So why are you selling? Oh, we need to sell the property because we need to get our books cleaned up. And this is where, if you've never heard of the 7 levels of why, this is where you ask it. Well, why is that important to you? You know, first off, you agree. Oh, great, awesome. Yeah, I want to settle my books too. Why is this important to you? Oh, because there's 4 investors and we just need to get things cleaned up. Oh, great. Yeah, if I was an investor, I'd feel the same way too. Why is that important to you? Oh, because we're kind of getting up there in age and our families don't want to deal with this. Okay, bingo. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Family, humans, emotion. As soon as you get to emotion, now you start to get their why. And now you get to work on satisfying their why, right? And guys, this is sales 101, right? So first thing I'm going to ask, and if you guys want, I mean, I don't know how much you guys do, but Sachin, we can come back and do a whole training just on sales and marketing if you want. I have like a full hour script of how to take someone from zero to buying 80% of the time. If we want to do that. So we could do a whole sales training if you want. I could build out, by the time you guys get off that call, we could have your perfect script built out of how to go all the way through whatever your product or service is, and probably increase your conversions of 20 to 50% in probably 2 hours of just going through a minimal script with you guys. So here's the thing. I'll tell you what, if you guys get your tickets tonight, so we don't have to chase people down and we can get those tickets, because we're holding those tickets for you guys because Sachin and I were talking about this. So if you get your tickets, we don't have to chase you like a bunch of cats, then we'll see about doing maybe a follow-up call for you. So here's the thing. You say, why are you selling? And you dig down until you get that emotional reason. Like when I was in the clinic, I would keep asking why. And as soon as I hit tears, I knew we hit bedrock. You know, it's like, why do you want to get rid of your neck pain? Because I can't move my arm and turn my head very well. Why is that important to you? Because I can't play with my kids very well. Why is that important to you? Well, because I want to be a good mom. Why do you want to be a good mom? Well, because my mom was never around and I don't want my kids to ever have to go through that. And then the tears start. Bingo. You're not here because you have neck pain. You're here because you want to be a good mom and you don't want your kids to have to go through the same bullshit that you went through when you were a kid. That's so when people aren't doing their exercise, right, you're talking to that. You're like, well, you said you didn't want neck pain, as opposed to do your exercises because you said you want to be a good mom. That's a lot different, right? So asking these people why they're selling their business, because they want to get it settled for their books. Great. I go to the bank and I say, someone just asked, do you need a vaccine for flights in the US? You shouldn't need that. No. In the Canada, I don't know what you guys need in Canada. You guys are like a whole nother world up there north of the ice wall. So for this, I went to the bank and I said this. I said, look, I used the magic question. Under what circumstances would you be willing to consider allowing the seller to carry the down payment? And they said, well, let's check on this, Thaddeus. Crunch the numbers, get back to us. Yeah, we'll allow for that. Great. So now I went back to the seller. And what do they say? I'll tell you what, under what circumstances would you be willing to consider a full or partial owner carry, short or long term? Well, what do you mean by that? Well, I'll tell you what. Well, they said, yeah, we would be willing to consider this. I said, because correct me if I'm wrong, you want to get this building sold, right? Because you want to get this cleared up for your family, right? So I'm bringing that emotional reason to the forefront of their brain, right? So now it's in the forefront of their mind. So now their problem that they're trying to solve is front and center. Their problem is in their brain now. And so now I can enter the conversation going on in their mind, and I can say, I'll tell you what. And again, you always want to find wins, right? You never want to gotcha, because you never want to get anybody. You want to find wins. You want to find a win-win. Sachin heard me at Genius Network try to explain this to Chris Voss, and he crapped all over me. But anyways, so Chris Voss actually came up to me and apologized a little bit afterwards for reaming me in front of everybody because anyways. So so here's the thing. So I went to the seller and I said, look, I'll tell you what, I will give you your price. I'll give you your full asking price if you give me my terms. They said, okay, well, what do you mean? I said, I'll tell you what, I know that you want to get this off your books because of your family. And if I were you, I would feel the exact same way. I get that. I'll tell you what, the bank's going to give you 75%. So they're going to give you the lion's share of your money right now. I'm just asking that you cover the 25% down payment. And I know because time is an issue of you want to get this squared away. We'll just do it for 10 years. That way we can get it cleaned off pretty easily. Sound good? We negotiated it down. We got it down to 5 years. I showed up to the bank with a check for $10,000. I'm sorry, to escrow. I showed up to escrow, signed the papers. I came with a check for $10,000. I got like $230 back as a refund. So it cost me $9,640, let's just call it, for money out of my pocket to acquire a $1.6 million asset that cash flowed right out of the gate, $2,000 a month. So I had my initial investment back in 5 months. And then what I did, I used that money to pay my Tesla car payment every month. So I got a $1.6 million business building for free. Plus I got a free brand new Tesla out of it. I mean, Tesla's at the time was like, I don't think it was like 170 grand or something. So I got a free Tesla out of it. I got a $1.6 million building. And what does the rule of 10 tell us? Do you guys remember the rule of 10? What does that tell us? I know some of you are on mute. If you want to type it or unmute or whatever, what does the rule of 10 tell us? Yep, there you go. So I'm sorry, I'm not saying this right. Prashnith. In 10 years, you get your original purchase price back in equity, right? So that means that in 10 years, I should have $1.6 million in equity. Here's the thing. The building actually appraised more than that. In 5 years, the building went from 1.6 million to 2.5 million. And the principal, the loan had been paid down to around 1.3. So I had $1.2 million of equity in about 5 years in the property. I just refinanced it, paid off the original owner, the seller Carrie. I paid off his loan. Plus I pulled out about $400,000 or $500,000 out, 100% tax free. And I took that money, I used it on business expenses and reduced my taxable income by $500,000. And that was with a $10,000 check, a willingness to learn, a willingness to ask questions, and using the magic sentence. And you guys, I've acquired millions of dollars of real estate. That's just one of several deals that I've done. Last year, I did about $6 million in real estate using that exact sentence and using a very similar strategy. Last May, I bought a property for 10% down, $900,000. This wasn't even, I bought a 140-acre ranch for 2.6 million, and I put very little down on that as well. I pre-leased some of the grounds to some farmers and got enough money to pay for the first full years of my mortgage on a 140-acre ranch. So I basically got the whole ranch for free. And the ranch will probably, in about 10, actually probably about 20 or 30 years, the ranch will probably be worth around $40 million. I got it for $2 million. It'll probably be worth $40 million because it's right on the edge of the urban growth boundary of the city. So here's the, if you want to look it up, Sachin, look, if you can type this in, if you go to like Zillow or something, type in 1140 Jackson Road, Ashland, Oregon. We can see if we can pull it up for people. I'll show you if we do a screen share. But here's the thing, you guys, I bought a piece of property last May for $900,000, an owner carry piece of property. I put 10% down. So I put 10% down, which that 10%, that $90,000 wasn't even my money. It was money that I took out of the other property that I refinanced. That was free money. So I took it. It's kind of like you want your money babies to have money babies, and you want your money babies to have money great money babies, and you want your money babies to have more money babies for you. So can you go to like the map view of it, like maybe on Google? So there's a 140-acre ranch. So you see where that little red dot is? So you see that red dot there? That's my ranch, you guys, and that purple is the urban growth boundary. So you can see the city is about to gobble that up. Now it'll probably be 10, 20, 30 years down the road. Cool. Thank you, Sachin. So that's the ranch I was able to buy. And I was able to get that as an owner carry. So here's the thing. I bought a piece of property last May for $900,000. I put $90,000, I'm sorry, 900,000. I put 90,000 into it, which was money I pulled out of another piece of real estate. You know how much that property is worth right now? Over $1 million. So I've doubled my money in 1 year. So if I go to refinance it right now and I pull out $100,000, that money, well, not only that money's tax-free because it's return of capital, but I've already doubled, I've made 100% ROI in 1 year. So is that helpful, you guys? Is this good stuff? Do you guys want to go like learn more of this kind of stuff? Is this helpful?
Awesome.
This is what we do. Like here, let me just share this with you guys. Like if you're on the fence about coming to the annual retreat, just the 2-day real estate class that I teach, just the 2-day real estate class I teach is $10,000, which to me, I think is a smoking deal. Because if I can teach you how to buy $1 million property for little to no money out of pocket, just look at $10,000 as the investment in that property. Because like you're going to get training that's going to save you more than $10,000 on that property. And all you have to do is here's the thing, you guys, you do your first real estate deal, no money out of pocket, and you get that taste, your life is changed forever, you guys. Like it will transform you overnight. As soon as you buy your first piece of real estate or your first investment with little to no money out of pocket, like your life will transform overnight. And then the first time that you pull money out of that tax-free, you will, like, your mind will blow up. It will absolutely blow up. Your life will change forever. You will forever look at money and your world and your how you're growing your net worth will forever change. Forever change. Your mind will expand and it will never go back. I promise this. I promise this. You will never go back to the same person and your life will be completely changed. You guys, the first house I bought, I did everything wrong.
We lost your audio, Thaddeus.
What's that? You got me there on audio? Did you lose me?
Oh, there you're back.
So the thing is, guys, I paid on that building I bought $1.6 million. I paid $10,000 for that. That was less than what I paid on my first house that I bought for $120,000. The first house I bought was 800 square feet, $120,000, or let's say I think it was 125,000. I put 20% down. So I put $25,000 down on my first house. It was 800 square feet for 125,000. I did everything wrong. It was 800 square feet. You guys, it was so tiny. And here's another story. The first mentor that I hired, I paid him $8,000 for 1 day. I was making $3,000 a month at the time. $3,000 a month at the time. And I hired this dude for $8,000 plus travel expenses. He showed up at my house. The girlfriend I were living at the time. The house was so tiny, you guys. Watch this. We had to move the dining room table against the wall, open the front door, have him come in the house, shut the front door, and slide the dining room table back to the middle of the room. That's how tiny the house was. That was my first house. And I spent more for that house on a $125,000 house than I've spent on millions of dollars of real estate that have made me absolutely millions. All you have to do, guys, is understand how to do this, how to play this game, how to generate tax-free wealth, how to eliminate your taxes, how to understand this, and your world will forever change. You will start building so much tax-free wealth, you won't even know what to do with it. It takes time, it takes education, but if you start doing this, your world will forever change. So if you want help, obviously I'd love to see you at the annual retreat. Get your ticket for that. I would say get it now, make the decision. Successful people take action, do it, commit, get your seat, come down there, learn, be open to opportunities, to meeting people, learning new things, new playmates, new playgrounds. Of course, if you want to do our real estate intensive, I think for that we have like 2 seats left. So if you want to do that, you can do that. Message me for that privately, and I'll give you the link for the real estate intensive. If you want to do the map, again, our guarantee for the map is that it's $7,500. And if we don't make you $20,000 by the time you're off that call, we'll refund you fully. So, because for me, I know what we do is so freaking amazing that I can give it away for free like that, or very low cost, because once people get it, their life changes so much that then they get so much more wealth and they get so much else that then they start using our other products and other services, or they connect us to other relationships, or they start investing in our projects. Like right now, we have a real estate deal that we're doing right now that we're syndicating with members that I think is going to be, I think in probably the next I think in probably the next 18 months, people will double their money in it. So if you want access to those kind of deals, that kind of education, like just be part of the communities, stay in groups like this with Sachin, find the groups. Here's the thing, guys, find the people that you want to be like and that are doing what you want to do, and then write the check, invest the time, invest the energy, whatever you need or can to get as close to source as you can. I always say this, if you want to be the world's best crab fisherman, don't come to my event. Don't come to our events. Don't be in Sachin's mastermind group. If you want to be the world's best crab fisherman, go to Alaska and find a fishing boat and do that. But if you don't want to be the world's best crab fisherman, if you want to build significant tax-free wealth, if you want to have the freedom of time to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, with your family, and only have to work if you have to, then be with people that are already doing that. So someone just asked, is there a link to book the accommodation at the same hotel? If you go in that link, there should be like a download there for you to get for you to get the hotel rooms in there. Yeah, I see some people messaging me. I don't know how to like maybe grab these people's emails or what, but I'm happy to. I don't know, Sachin, if there's a way I can send people whatever these links are to whatever you want. You and I can maybe work that out afterwards, or we can get people links and stuff like that for people that are interested. So yeah, you and I can work that out. So Sachin can get you guys the event links there. Yeah, because I know looks like some people asking me for the real estate intensive link. Yeah, I'll talk with Sachin on that, or we'll see about getting that over to you. Yeah, I don't know. I think the link to booking, et cetera, yeah. So Anne, you're right. So after you book your ticket to the retreat, it'll take you. I think it'll give you information on how to get your hotel room and all that kind of stuff. I'd love to hear what did you guys learn? Like give me one takeaway. I want to know like what landed for you that was like, that was juicy. That's going to make a difference. That's going to move a needle. That was a lever that's going to move a big door. What was that small hinge that's going to move a big door? What was what was it that was juicy for you that really helped? Do we fly into San Juan? Yep. The magic negotiation line. So yeah, that's the magic sentence. So I love that. Just ask, you never know. Add backs, awesome. Rule of 10, invest in real estate, 10-year rule. Yep. The magic sentence, good. The ranch example is nice to hear. Happy. Yeah, thank you. For me, I want to make a big event center at the ranch as well. So maybe we'll have a party one time at the ranch, everybody. Magic sentence, awesome. Your mindset, real estate, taxes, mindset, solid gold. Thanks, Thaddeus. Great info. But yeah, the magic sentence is amazing. Add back. I mean, here's the thing, you guys. Every time you come in communication with somebody, and I hesitate using this word because it has a bad rap, but there's a sale being made, right? Now, ideally with a sale, a sale can be someone's time, someone's money, and it can be a product, it can be a service, it can be a relationship, but there's an exchange of energy. A sale is just an exchange of energy. And ideally when there's that sale or there's that exchange of energy, 1 + 1 = 10, right? Like that's how it should be. So if you really believe in your product and your service, and when you meet somebody, always be thinking, how can I help serve this person? What can I do for this person? Because for me, like I'm trying to sell you on the idea that you can generate tax-free wealth. I'm trying to sell you on a bigger, better, brighter future. That's the first thing I have to sell you on, so that you actually go home and after this call and you actually start researching this stuff. You actually take the time to go write up a contract with your child and you actually do this. Like I have to sell you like on a bigger, brighter future for yourself on why that's so important, right? So all of these things that, when you're looking at this, the magic sentence really is just a way to find out what's important to somebody so that you can sell them on their idea, right? You're finding out what's important to them so you can sell them on your idea and why your solution is the answer to that. And ideally 1 + 1 = 10. Yeah, I see some people asking how to book the map. Again, I'll get that link over to you. We can do it through Sachin. And here's, if you guys want, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram, Thaddeus Gala. Feel free to message me. As of right now, I still am messaging and replying to all those DMs. I have a lot that I haven't responded to, but if I do respond, it's me. So at least you know that. If I don't respond, you know it was me. If I respond, you know it was me. So either way, you know it's me dealing with that, but I get overwhelmed a lot of times. So if someone responds as of right now in the DMs, you know it's actually me. So find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram, TikTok. I have some stuff on there as well. I look forward to seeing you guys at the annual retreat. Get your ticket tonight. take action, make it happen, start getting excited, start seeing who's going to be there, getting integrated in the group, and rocking and rolling, man. And Sachin, I'm serious. If you guys want to do a sales training later, you know, in a week or two or whenever, I'm happy to do that again for people if they want.
Hey, I love it. I'll definitely take you up on that, because I know there's so much passion that you have to offer us, and enthusiasm and excitement. Thank you.
Yeah.
You've gone above and beyond today, so I appreciate that. And you've given us a fantastic no-brainer type of offer here. So I love it. Thank you, my friend. And
Thank you guys.
greatly appreciate it. Next time you got to do the presentation in that knight's armor suit there.
Let's see, can we see? I wish I could have give you guys like a little tour. You guys see Guardian Gary back there?
That would be super memorable.
That's the knight in armor. So that, I don't know if you can see on the hallway, but this is the chateau. Check this out. This is the previous owner. He has a self-portrait of himself. And then over here, I don't know if you can see it, but that's his wife over there on the wall. So it's kind of cool, but kind of creepy as well. I have like these portraits from the previous owner that I'm looking at all the time when I'm in my office.
Amazing, amazing. So I'll be in touch with you, Thad. We'll make sure everyone has all the information that they need for some of those additional tools that you're offering. And thank you all. Make sure you take action. And then in case you're wondering, you need to have, it should pop up. You have to go through the entire process, and that $500 discount is applied at the end. So make sure you go through the entire process and make sure you're using the code guest pass. It should already pre-populate. I went through the process myself just to double check. But if it doesn't, then guest pass is the promo code.
Can we do a big smile? Can we have everyone turn on their camera? We'll just do a big smile, and we'll get a screenshot of everyone. So if turn on your screen real quick, and we'll just get a big smile of everyone, because there we go. All right. Oh boy, we still got people jumping on here. Awesome, awesome. Okay, everyone smile on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, and smile. Awesome. Very cool. We only got a third of the people, I think, in there. So we'll yeah. Awesome, you guys. Much love, Sachin. Thank you so much for having me on here. As you can tell, I don't get excited about this at all. This is like boring stuff. I hate talking about it. You guys are awesome. I hope this wasn't like you thought it was going to be in terms of learning tax code. I hope you got some enjoyment out of it, and it didn't feel like a screwdriver in your ear, and it was beneficial. Thank you guys so much. I respect your time. I respect you. Much love to you. Go out and make the world a better place. Help those. And here's to making the rest of your years the best of your years. Much love.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.